Rent is so expensive that minimum wage workers need 3 roommates or 4 jobs to afford a 2 bedroom apartment. In fact, there's not a single state in America where a minimum wage worker that's full time can afford a 2 bedroom apartment. So look at this for example. If you live in Alabama where the minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, you'd have to work 90 hours a week to afford a 2 bedroom. Now, you would need to work 74 hours a week to afford the average 1 bedroom apartment in Alabama at the minimum wage. So someone explained to me why we're pretending that workers are the problem when it's the corporations that are arbitrarily pushing up prices on rent, food, laying off workers, all to maximize their profits. Like, how is this system that we're currently living in sustainable?
My 66-year-old father, who bought my childhood home for $60,000 in 1991, literally told me to my face that if he made $60,000 a year that he could not make it on his own. And I started laughing and I was like, Dad, your mortgage is legitimately half of just my rent. He's, yeah, but you got like groceries and other bills. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, wait till you get MSD. And I was like, you mean sewage? I pay for my sewage. He goes, oh. I'm like, what? Like, you're not living in the same reality as me. They're not. My gabbers were flaccid. I was like, how do you think I feel? How do you think I've been doing, Dad? I'm not even making $60,000 a year anymore. Like, yeah, it's hard out here, dude. Welcome. And he's about to retire, so that's the money that he's going to make for doing nothing.
I can't pay rent this month.
You can't pay rent this month?
No.
Why?
Because I don't have any money.
What do you mean you don't have any money?
I don't have any money.
Are you joking or not?
No.
What happened to all of your inheritance stuff? So I'm supposed to pay for all of it?
Yeah.
I am so tired of hearing what boomers have to say about what young people should be doing in the housing market today. The boomers on Twitter are all yelling about how no one buys starter homes anymore. We all want 5-bed, 5-bath houses as our first homes. And of course, everyone is telling them, like, in a lot of places, this is $500,000 now. Like, starter home prices don't exist for a lot of people. And that is true. But the point I want to make is people are not buying starter homes at starter home ages. The average age of a first-time home buyer this year is 35. Boomers were buying their starter homes in their 20s and then they upgraded in their 30s. But the median number of years that people buying their first home today expect to live in that home is 18 years. And by definition, a starter home is one that has like 2, maybe 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. And again, we're buying these homes in our 30s. So it's not just a house we're living in for 3-4 years while we're roughing it, while we have 1 baby, and by the time we have 2 or 3 kids, we can move up to the house with 3 or 4 bedrooms. You're acting like we're all spoiled brats, that we don't want to spend $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 for a 1-bathroom home that we're going to have to raise a family in forever. And I know people across the world raise families in spaces much tinier in this, but just to act like young people are just entitled and are like too good to buy something like this is insane, when the actual reason is we're all in our 30s and we are planning to buy the only house we expect to ever be able to afford. Boomers were shopping for this at age 27 and they knew at age 31 they could go buy their 5-bedroom house.
So I came across this. It says this is the max rent you should be paying based upon your salary. Now, just so you guys know for reference, the average American makes about $49,000, which means your rent should be about $1,041. But here's the thing. The average of a 1-bedroom apartment in the United States right now is $1,700. That's damn near a 70% increase, okay? Now, one thing I am happy about is that the feds are suing certain rent companies for hiking up prices and gouging renters. That's a good thing. But ultimately, the rent is just too damn high. I know in California, we have a ballot measure that talks about rent control. And people are saying, you don't want to have rent control because builders will be too shy to build. Man, forget that. We need rent control because the rent is too damn high. And what I can clearly see is that a lot of major companies are taking advantage of people, hiking up the rent and trying to squeeze people. And that's just not cool. Everybody should be able to make a profit in the United States. But gouging your fellow countrymen ain't right. That's not cool. So I'm hoping that this bill in California passes and we can get some rental relief for people that need it in terms of capping what they can go up to after your lease is done. Because I think about my mom who just lost her husband of 46 years. If I and my brother wasn't there, my mom would be looking at this price and she can't afford that.
If you can't pay your rent, here's what you should do. Hey, I'm hoping you can help me out. Got somebody that needs some help with their rent. Who can we refer them to and how much money can they help them with?
Now, Job and Family Services, they're the ones that got the money, but it's taking 5 and 6 months. They'll give you all of your back rent plus 3 months going forward.
All right, thank you, Nikki. What could you be doing in those 5 or 6 months? Instead of paying your rent, you could be buying bandit signs. Bandit sign is just 18 by 36 sign. Put them out in the suburbs and the more affluent communities where people have money. When you can just put on there investor special and they're going to call you. And as they call you, say, hey, man, look, that property's sold. You don't even need a property, but I got some more coming, okay? Give me your number and give me an email and I'm going to put you on my buyer's list. They're going to be like, great. Get a little bit of details about it. I write it out on a notebook. This right here has made more millionaires than anything I know.
I just got my new lease agreement because my lease ends next month and freaking out a little bit. Every single year, my rent has gone up by $100. I live by myself. I pay the entirety of the rent on my own. My new rent starting next month is $1,200. $1,200. For one, I don't know how I've even been paying $1,100 for the past month. I don't know how I've been doing it, but I've been doing it. Barely. To divulge some extra information that I probably should not divulge, I get paid every week. And for 2 weeks, I can't touch my paycheck, not even $1, because those 2 paychecks have to go to rent. I essentially don't have any money for 3 weeks most of the time during the month. And that just repeats month after month after month. So I'm not sure about what we're gonna do going forward. Luckily it's my birthday next week and I am going to get a chunk of change that I will be holding on to for dear life. But this is like a big reason why I wanted to be a part of the Creator Fund, because I cannot afford the cost of living, and I need to get my dog a behaviorist, which I also cannot afford. I need to pay off my credit cards, which I cannot afford to do. They have been closed for 3 years. I have been paying them off for 3 years. And I did try looking into like getting a part-time job, but I simply do not have time on top of my full-time job and having a dog that, I need to be home for. So if y'all know any way to make extra money that isn't, OF or something of that sort, it isn't something that I need to leave the house for because I have my dog, let me fucking know. Let me fucking know. I'm poorer today than I was yesterday, and I'm just gonna keep getting more and more poor, so.
Have landlords lost their minds? My roommate moved out a few months ago, so I currently live in a 2-bed, 2-bath by myself. And the price that I am paying for rent for a 2-bed, 2-bath with 2 parking spaces is the same amount of money I would be paying for a studio in Los Angeles, California. I feel like our whole perspective is warped because I hear people talking about, oh, I found a studio for $2,000, what a good deal. I just can't even process what is happening with rent costs in LA and also around the whole country. How is anybody affording rent? How?
Y'all, I just went today and got my driver's license renewed, my car tags renewed, picked up 2 prescriptions, and got a few groceries. To say that I'm completely broke now is an understatement. So I'm going to have to go home and start selling off my furniture to be able to live the rest of the month. I mean, that's just, it's unbelievable. No, I'm not going to, that's just a joke. I'm not going to have to sell anything, and I'm thankful to God that I am able to do those things. And my heart hurts today, truly hurts for people who are not able. And we're living in some rough times, really rough times. And we need to be praying for all those around us who are not as fortunate as we are to be able to do the things that we need to do. I'm not talking about extras. I'm not talking about going on vacation and doing fun things. I'm talking about living
taking care of your vehicle, if you can even afford a vehicle, putting groceries on the table, buying medicine, the things you have to do. It's sad. It's very sad.
Hey Raph, I'm a teacher and I can barely afford to pay rent with my salary. My salary bi-weekly is basically my rent minus $500. Guess how much my car is? $400. Guess how much insurance is? $100. Oh yeah, that's right. You do the math. I'm left with owing money at the end of the month. That's not even with groceries. Holy that's not even with groceries. I realize every single month I am transferring money out of savings into my checking and I am not. Just had the realization in the car that I'm actually gonna go into debt if I continue being a teacher. Like genuinely. Wow. Oh, I'm like literally having a crisis right now. I'm gonna have a panic attack right now. I can't do this. I literally cannot do this. Knowing every single month that most of my money is literally like, I don't have money. Okay. I don't know how I'm gonna pay off my credit card this month. I don't know. All right. Well, rats, peace and blessings. And I hope you can afford your rent today and groceries and your car and insurance and life. Bye.
A woman says she's exhausted by the fact that she can't afford rent even though she's cut back on eating.
There's a woman on TikTok who is going viral right now because her rent went from $1,300 to $1,800 a month with no warning. That is a significant amount of money for your rent to increase to the point where that would make or break somebody's ability to pay rent. Landlords and corporations are continuing to price gouge and not care about the well-being of their tenants or their customers or anybody because it's all about money at this point. I would recommend that this girl see if she can find a cheaper place, but with the increase of rent, is that possible? I have no idea. It is going to take a lot of work to get out of that situation. She's either going to have to get a second job if she doesn't already have one, or scrape up some funds to figure out if she can move to a cheaper place, get a bunch of roommates. I mean, none of it is ideal. $500 could prevent you from saving money monthly too, which is something that I come on here and preach about. Taking your savings, putting it into a high yield savings or a compound interest account, watching your money grow. How are we supposed to do that when it's $500 increasing in rent? Like that's insane. I would love for people to just stop being selfish and let people live their lives.
If you can't afford to live in an apartment by yourself and pay rent by yourself, you should not move in with your boyfriend, okay? Because you're going to be in a relationship with him and you're not going to want to be in it anymore, but you're not going to break up with him because you have an apartment. You just moved out of your parents' house and you don't want to go back home because that's embarrassing. So you're just going to prolong this terrible relationship when you would have been out if you could have paid for rent by yourself and lived by yourself, but you couldn't. Like, just don't do that to yourself. Just don't move in if you can't afford rent by yourself. Just wait a little bit, get a little money, and then move out.
I can't pay rent this month.
I pay the rent.
But I can't pay it this month.
You've never paid it.
Yeah, but I can't pay it this month, is what I'm saying.
You've never paid it. Ever.
Okay. So I'm not going to pay rent this month.
You've never paid it. I have a mortgage, by the way.
Okay.
You literally never paid it.
Okay, so I'm just letting you know that I can't pay it this month. What?
What do you mean this month? You've never paid it.
But I'm just letting you know that this month...
You let me know any other month you weren't paying it.
So... Okay.
Eat some fries.
So it's okay that I can't pay this month's rent?
You've never paid rent.